Welcome back. We are so excited to have you here with our second video. I'm Dr. Johnson, this is Professor Smith, and we're really excited to jump into the topic of lesson planning. A lot of you have had multiple situations where you have been in a classroom supporting a classroom teacher, possibly being the classroom teacher, or you've had teachers. So you've all experienced the secondary outcome of a teacher who has done a good job planning the lesson and what they want to do. Now, here's the thing about lesson plans. Unfortunately, it is not a one size fits all, and there is no easy, simple formula to use. However, there is a guide. And part of our undergraduate program here at Ottawa utilizes a template for our student teachers to follow. I want you to take a minute and look at this template and remember it's a guide. You don't have to and may not use every element listed here in every single lesson. So you see how it's kind of bullet pointed and there. It's really important to remember that a lesson plan is not a narrative essay. You are not writing a paper. This should be something that could sit next to you while in the classroom and you're teaching along, and then all of a sudden the fire alarm goes off and you forgot about the fire practice they were doing today. So we all run outside, we line up, we count, everything else. Then we come back in, you think, oh Lord, where was I? Hey, you got your guide right there. So you're gonna look back at your template and go, we are right here. Your principal walks in the room or your mentor teacher and says, what do you plan on teaching today? You say, oh, we've got a great lesson today. We're discovering blah, blah, blah. And they say, well, do you have your lesson plan? Oh yeah, here you go. And they glance through it, and being a experienced and tenured educator, they're looking for key elements to see that you have thought this through. You can't show up and shoot from the hip and just say, let's all sit around and sing Kumbaya together. You have to have a plan. And we want to send you into the classroom with the best plan possible. And those plans might change. And Professor Smith's going to talk about that in a minute. Later in our next video, we're going to really dive into three elements that you see in this lesson plan: the essential question, the standards, and the learning objective. So we're going to skip those for now. Of course, you have your title, the grade, and the subject. And you say, well, why do I need to put that on there? You might potentially teach multiple subjects or multiple grades. And if you don't have those components on there, keeping your information organized and quickly accessible becomes a little more difficult. So make it easy on yourself because you got plenty to keep track of anyway. Within our resources and materials, this is where we list everything that we're going to need that day. Now, if a projector and a screen are already in our classroom, do we need to list it? No. But if that day we need to make sure that we have highlighters for our kids, or Post-it notes, or crayons, or scissors, we might want to list that when we're starting our teaching because our mind is full, we're stressed, we're anxious about what we're getting ready to do. So we just want to make sure it's all planned out and on paper. And guess what? If a substitute came in and took our lesson plan, they would understand what they need to prepare before the students come back from their specials or recess or wherever they were in order for the lesson to be effective. When it comes to technology, most of the time we're using our projector or PowerPoints and slides and things, but what if we have a specific website we want to visit or a specific resource that we want the students to discover? This is where we're putting those links or those reminders to go into our Google Drive and find them. Within our instructional methods, there are some specific elements that most teachers use. The anticipatory set is like the hook. It gets kids excited. It typically utilizes questioning. So we question kids, has anyone ever ridden a roller coaster before? And their hands go up and you say, okay, what did your stomach do when that drop happened? Oh man, it went up in there. We all talk about it. Well, today we're going to talk about gravity or centrifugal force or whatever piece it is. And all we did was make sure that our students were engaged to realize that, wow, what I'm learning about today actually does connect with my real world experiences. Within our step-by-step procedures, we want to make sure that we aren't just standing in front of a classroom talking the whole time. Instead, we want to build in small group instruction, guided practice where they get a chance to work together in cooperative learning settings or partner work. And we want to make sure that we're modeling things for them. So within independent practice, that typically means it's happening inside the classroom, but the student is doing it on their own, and then maybe going back and checking with a peer. The idea is that we don't want to just teach information just expect that they got it and send them home to do their homework. We want to be checking along the way. And that leads us to our assessments. I know I skipped one, I'll come back. But our assessments are also built throughout our lesson. We're going to talk about those in a future video as well. The accommodations and the differentiated instruction, this comes from a place of providing equity. Being equitable does not mean being equal. If I have someone who is 4 feet tall and someone who is 6 feet tall, and I have a 5 foot tall fence, I'm not going to provide the same size crate or step for someone to see over that fence because they don't need it. I'm going to provide what they need so that everyone can see over the fence and whatever is happening there. It sounds like a silly example, but it's a really important thing to remember within your lesson planning, that you are thinking through, what if I have a student with a disability? What if I have a gifted student who needs to move a little faster and have some challenges? Again, we're going to talk about that in future videos, but remember it when you think about how you're going to formulate your lesson plan. And within our reteaching and our homework, sometimes that can flow into the next day, into the next unit, the next week. A lot of people believe in, and I think it's a wonderful idea, to have what we call cyclical or spiral curriculum, where things kind of wrap back around again. So we don't teach it once and then walk away. We teach it, and then maybe later on, we might come back around and review those concepts or those vocabulary so that they really become ingrained in a student's understanding, not just their awareness. And there's lots of different ways to write lesson plans, right, Professor Smith?
Oh, yes, there is. So would you like us to segue into the next one? So if you want to share your screen. Oh, okay, perfect. So so she mentioned that there are different kinds of lesson plan templates. So you might happen to, or something might happen to you in one of two ways. The person that you're working with, your mentor teacher or your cooperating teacher, might already have a lesson plan template that they would like you to use. Maybe it's one that they use, maybe it's one that their district requires. So you're going to be exposed to that one. If they say to you, or I say to you in my classes, you are welcome to use whatever template you want, you're going to go online and you're going to put in elementary social studies lesson plan template, and you're going to get a whole list of ones that show up. My hope is that you don't choose the first one. My hope is that you actually think of the grade level that you're teaching, the group size that you're teaching to, the content area that you're teaching to, and you choose the lesson plan template that makes the most sense for that lesson that you are going to teach.
Which is what we did here, right? We did a Google search, and this is the first one that came up. And I mean, look at it. It's kind of got some of the same stuff, but it's not necessarily what your students might need.
Correct. And it's got different wording, and that's okay. Where we say anticipatory set, this one says the hook. So yeah. You're going to find that you're going to see a lot of similarities in there, but there are differences. So you need to pick the one that goes with the lesson that you are teaching. And so I just want to take a little bit and talk about some of the different curricular areas that you might be making a lesson plan for. So let's say you're doing a social studies lesson plan, and it is a whole group kind of activity. The lesson plan template that we showed you from Ottawa, perfect for probably what you are doing in that activity. You'll get everything in there that you need to do. The students will learn, you'll be able to check on the assessment pieces. It's the perfect one. But then let's say you're doing an English language arts lesson, and maybe you're doing a one-on-one with the student. Maybe the student is, we would consider remedial and needing some extra help. And so you are doing a lesson one-on-one. Your lesson plan template is going to look completely different than that. Mm-hmm. Yes. Tell me the materials that you need, because if you're using a specific book, you need to have that book out before. But that is going to look completely different, because I'm probably not assessing that student that day. Or if I am I using a running record with that student or sight word checklist? So think about that. Still in English language arts, I might be doing a small group lesson. My small group lesson might be a guided reading lesson where we're working on reading and comprehension, or it might be a phonics lesson where we are working on anything with phonics. that template looks completely different. And I will tell you the materials and resources are even more different with that lesson. And then you might be doing a whole group shared reading experience. Once again, that lesson plan template will look different. If I'm doing a writing lesson, that one looks different too. So you can see that there are going to be lots of differences and choices that you're going to be able to have to make when you are doing your lesson plans. Let's go on to math. Oh, yes.
When they're in your classes, though, like with science and with math, do you provide them with the lesson plan template that they're supposed to use? Because
excellent question. So if you are in the social studies ELA class, the English language arts class, I do not provide the lesson plan template. You will find that one on your own. But when you get into the math science one, for the math one, I am going to share different examples for you and with you in that class. Usually what you will find in your math is that the school district that you are working with has adopted a math series that has a very systematic step-by-step lesson plan template that you use. An example in my school district is we use Eureka Math, and it is laid out. Spend 2 minutes on this, 5 minutes on this, 6 minutes on this.
Very scripted.
Yeah, it is laid out for us. And so you will be doing that one, but I will also be giving you samples in case your teacher says, use whatever you want. Wow me. Show me what you can do with this subject area. How can you teach fractions today? I don't want to use my textbook series. I want to use something different. So I will share some with that. So if I can pull this up really quick, can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, so I am going to share screen and pull this up. Can you see that now?
Yeah, you're good.
Great. Okay, so this is my very favorite lesson plan template, which is a little bit weird to say that you have a favorite lesson plan template, but I love this because it makes me think. When I do this, my creativity gets to come through on this lesson plan template. This is called a 5E lesson plan template. You will use this in science. There are the 5 E's right there. Engage. Once again, that's anticipatory set or the hook. Explore is exactly where the students are doing all of the hands-on kind of things. Explaining is where the students are explaining what they learned, and then the teacher is going over any misconceptions or adding some new learning in there. You're going to elaborate on what they've done. You're going to learn the same thing, but in a different way. And then you're going to evaluate and close. So this one has all of everything you need for science. And here's why you're going to use this one for science. Science is a little bit different. I do not want to start out my science lesson by saying, today you are going to learn that turtles have shells because it protects them. Actually, what I want to do is I want to show a video of a turtle and how that shell is protecting him, and then springboard off of that so that the students start to form their own questions about why a turtle has a shell, and they learn it on their own. So it's kind of an upside down approach to teaching. I do not want to tell you in science what you're going to learn. I want you to figure it out. But here's one thing that this one does have, and we'll go over this when you're in the class that is with it. Science is based on the next gen science standards. Not every state in the United States has adopted this. Kansas is one of the ones that has adopted this. And so it is a national standards. And then, that's what we use for our state. You're going to see right here where it says Common Core, ELA standards, and mathematical practices. Next gen science standards are not part of Common Core. However, when I teach a science lesson, oh my goodness, can I teach Common Core ELA?
Absolutely.
I can use a book. My kids are going to be writing in journals. When we're doing math, we're going to be solving problems. We're going to be picking tools that we can use. So I want to be aware of how I am incorporating both of these areas within my lesson. Once again, you're going to see the adaptations, differentiation added on here, always important. I'm just going to give you a little hint. Don't put on your lesson plan, I will have a para who will help with this student.
Never, ever put that. Oh.
Yeah, I've been teaching for 10 years and I've never had a para in my room. And I have some students that are on IEPs, but I've never had a para. So don't put that on there. And another one to not put is I will have another student help this student. Yes, great strategy. You will use that. But you as the teacher are the one that is owning this lesson. So you're going to want to, what can you do as a teacher?
Yes.
You also sometimes, especially in science, we seem to be a little bit more hesitant thinking, oh man, I don't really know about that topic. I don't know about buoyancy and why things float and why things sink. Okay, well, I'm going to learn on my own before I teach kids. So I might list some videos here that would help me to teach that science concept that's in there. I might have an article, an online article that can help me learn about that. Because even though I teach first grade science, there are things that students will ask that I don't know about the topics. Light, because we teach light and sound. So teacher background knowledge. Also to be aware of student misconceptions that kids might come in thinking, well, if it's heavy, it's going to sink. If it's light, it's going to float. Well, what about a cruise ship? They're very heavy. Why do they do it? I'm also interested in lesson extensions because there is so much out there that can enhance your lesson that you did. Virtual field trips are amazing. What centers or stations? What other literature can you bring in that you can have? Do you have a center with hands-on things? When you teach about birds, do you have an actual bird nest that the kids can touch? Eggs that you found, robin eggs that you might have found on the street? Those kind of things that you would add on here. So this lesson plan template will be provided for you. This is what you will use for your science lesson. And we will completely go through some samples and I will show you lots and different grade levels. I'll show you what it looks like in kindergarten and what it looks like in 5th grade. So
oh my gosh, you have absolutely made lesson plans like come to life and be so exciting. Oh my gosh.
So, well, if you don't have a lesson plan, it's really hard to do. You need a lesson plan for every subject area you teach.
Everything. Well, thank you. And this is why Professor Smith is such a jewel and an amazing resource for you and for me, because her insight, her experience, and her incredible ability to help guide each of us through this is so necessary. So you're going to love classes with her. We've gone over a lot of information today, and we're going to dig even deeper in the next video. So hang tight, hold on with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Professor Smith.
Thanks. Bye.